scary.
Work week. It is tax day. I hope that did not come as a surprise to anyone. There's plenty to talk about between now and 4 p.m. A lot going on. And let's go over what we have lined up for this first hour together. The 106-year-old Portage Theater sat vacant for many years, but now one man's dreams of turning the theater into a community gathering hub and a place, a space that hosts everything from concerts to film screenings and indoor markets. It's all becoming a reality. Chris Bauman of the Zenith Music Group is going to be here to tell us all about his plans coming up, and I'm looking forward to that. Also, truly looking forward to catching back up with NASA's lunar science lead. If you remember, she was here with us right before Artemis II took off, that beautiful launch and a now successful mission, and she was right there in mission control for it all. So we'll be getting all of the details from her, all of the details she can share with us. We'll talk to her soon. And many people have been following the criminal case against former UCLA gynecologist James Heaps. He's now pleaded guilty to 14 counts related to the sexual abuse of patients during his decades-long tenure at the university. But here's the thing, it has led to the largest sexual abuse payout involving a public university in U.S. history. And if 14 counts weren't bad enough, we have the attorneys representing over 200 victims on the show today. So we'll hear from them soon. A little breaking news that just came in from our political reporter before we get to our first conversation of the day. The voting is in there at City Hall. City Council has failed to override the mayor's veto of the sub-minimum wage ordinance. They fell 4 votes short of the 34 threshold. Remember, they needed a supermajority to be able to overturn his veto. So this means the previous law that eventually raises the tipped minimum wage to equal the regular minimum wage will hold. We've had lots of conversations about that tipped minimum wage. And again, the mayor's veto will now stand. Okay. All right. So let's get into our first conversation. We have more serious storms on the way today, serious to severe storms on the way today. We're also getting more information about what's been happening across the Midwest over the last 24 hours. There was a confirmed tornado in Sussex, Wisconsin, and Abril Preciado from our sister station in Milwaukee is here to give us those details. Thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you so much for inviting us here today on your show. Yes, as you just explained, there's a series of storms that happen that are coming up, including just last night. We were impacted here, or I should say here in the Lisbon, Sussex area, which is where we're at right now. It has been confirmed by the National Weather Service that a tornado came here and hit the area. And I'm just gonna step out of the shot just to show you guys the impact that was left right here. This is an industrial area right off of 164 in Sussex, and as you can see, a lot of damage has been left. We're just seeing downed trees, debris that has just been piled up on the sides of the roads, and you're just also seeing just crews working on the cleanup efforts. It's literally an all hands on deck situation that we are seeing out here. We have been out here since 9 a.m. this morning. That's how you can see how invested we've been into this right now all day. But yes, you just see them cleaning up the area because, again, we're seeing a lot of damage, especially on this building. I don't know if you can see it because I'm sure the downed trees are kind of blocking the area, but behind them, I believe that's where you see the most damage from the building. A lot of broken windows, and even the front, I believe like the front entrance of one of the units is completely collapsed and just damaged. And then I'm gonna have our photographer kind of pull it over to this side as well. We also see some damage at this storage facility. As you can see, the wall was torn down from this area. You could kind of see just the metal kind of just standing there, and a couple of like the structure over there from that other, I believe from building D as well, kind of torn apart. This is just one of the many areas, not one of the many areas, just one area that has been impacted. Across the streets, we also have a church that was also impacted by the tornadoes. just right now, especially on their roof, and it is something that is definitely taking a huge toll in this community, as well as it is a beloved church, and a lot of people are feeling just very heavy because it was impacted. What was just very I guess like what really, just got my attention from seeing that, seeing the impact from that church is just how impacted the community is feeling from it, because the church is located in a residential area, and the church is pretty much the only place that the tornado hit and was impacted by it. Everything else seems to be fine. All we see are just downed trees in the areas. I mean, in that area, but the church is the only one that was impacted, and everything seems pretty well. Nothing really damaged. But yeah, this is just a little part of what we're seeing from the damages left from last night.
It's pretty wild, especially to see those huge trees pulled right from their root. Can you give us an idea? I mean, have you heard about any injuries or, heaven forbid, any deaths?
No, so as of this point right now, from what we know is that no injuries have been reported, and that's honestly the main thing that we keep hearing from many neighbors here in the area. They tell me that, thank goodness no one was injured. Yes, there's damages left, but luckily no one was injured. It also appears to be that no homes were also damaged during this tornado as well. We mainly just see for example, like this industrial area, which is just businesses that were impacted, the church, and that's pretty much it. So a lot of people are feeling really grateful that their homes weren't impacted directly like that, and of course that no one was hurt, which is definitely the most important thing, because yesterday when we were seeing the tornado warnings, obviously that's the first thing that comes to mind. We want to stay safe, and thankfully nothing went to that level.
Oh, yeah, that's we're all grateful for that. And what is the expectation? I can hear the wind whipping around you right now. What is the expectation for storms again in your area? Like we are bracing for more storms today. Are you all as well?
I believe we are as well too. Obviously, a lot of moving parts right now. As you mentioned, we are feeling the wind, so we are expecting as well to have something today. Hopefully it's not as, what we were seeing yesterday. We were just seeing heavy rain, a lot of heavy rain. It was really difficult to kind of drive around during that, during the storm yesterday. So we're just kind of preparing. I feel like that's the reason why a lot of crews are out here just cleaning up before, in case it gets like messy out here later on today, or we get more rain today, it doesn't just worsen the situation. But yeah, this is pretty much what we're seeing at this point. Again, right now we're just seeing like more people kind of showing up right here by the storage facility, kind of just again cleaning up the area. We did managed to speak to some people that showed up earlier as well, kind of checking up on their units, obviously, because you think about your belongings. And most of the people that we spoke to, they told us that their units are fine. They do have some water damage, but they did mention to me that there are some that did look like they were hit really badly, and I guess their units are actually kind of like torn up, but I believe you can see that behind it. Unfortunately, we can't go behind because it is private property, but yeah, definitely a lot of moving pieces here. But again, obviously an all hands on deck situation that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and for your station, are you the only reporter that is like you're in the area that's concentrated, or do you all have several reporters that are in various areas that had damage like what you're seeing around you?
Yes, we have several reporters that are in different areas. We had our morning team covering the church earlier today. We're covering it as well, but we're mostly focused on this industrial area, I should say. We have another crew on Milwaukee's north side as well that also faced some impact from the storm yesterday, a lot of flooding. And then we have another crew focusing on another area or another part of Waukesha County see as well. So yeah, it's complete team coverage right now. Obviously a lot of moving parts, a lot of different areas that were impacted in different ways. Obviously this is, I would say, and what the National Weather Service also said, is among the areas that was just directly impacted by the tornado, and obviously other areas were impacted in other ways, like flooding and other damages that they experienced as well.
Yeah, and Abril, I know that we never like to actually be the story, but several of my coworkers were watching you all stream last night when the meteorologist called for everyone to evacuate into, I don't know if it's a basement or some type of safe space even within your station. Can you kind of walk us through what happened?
Oh my goodness, I wish I could give you a more direct, or I guess like my personal experience, but my shift was done by then. That was mainly the night side team that was told to evacuate and go down to the basement area, and whatnot. But it was definitely I'm from California, so these are things that I'm not used to seeing out here. So when I started seeing my coworkers, rushing to a basement, I was like, oh my gosh, is this real? This was my first, I would say, tornado warning, and even tornado, I guess, as close to a tornado that I have ever come close to it. In California, we don't have that. We have earthquakes. But it was definitely, it was scary for me too. Definitely a first time as well. So something I was learning as well. I didn't know if, how you would, get ready for that. I didn't expect it but definitely I know a lot of my coworkers were a little shaken a little by the situation, but luckily I feel like we have a good team and everyone was very supportive and helpful. And obviously at the end of the day, our main focus is to keep our community informed, especially during those times when obviously the news is very crucial and people are looking to us for information, just to know if their neighborhoods are safe, if their homes are safe, and power outages as well, and just knowing where the damages are, especially for those people that were even just driving back home, because it did kind of happen during like the rush hour after people kind of tend to get out of work and whatnot. But definitely a first time for me, and very eye-opening experience.
Yeah, well, Abril, welcome to the Midwest, sister. This time of year is so unpredictable, and you will never forget your first time going through these types of experiences, whether it's you personally having to run to the basement or covering these types of things. Each time you set your eyes on an area that a tornado has gone through, I think there's just a level of like, I can't believe that something like this could happen so fast to people, where 1 minute everything seems okay and the next minute their whole life has changed. But it is a wonderful thing that you're not hearing of any injuries or death in this situation, and certainly hope that it stays that way with the next round of storms. Thank you so much for your time today. All right,
yes,
you take care.
Thank you guys for inviting us here.
You take care. You take care. All right, it's 1:13, everyone, and I mean that. I mean, you never forget going to the scenes where natural disasters have taken place, and especially tornadoes, because it happens so fast, and it reminds you of just the wonders of nature, and to take nature seriously. Take those warnings seriously. When the meteorologists give an alert, when they give a warning, listen to it, make some plans, and know how to act very quickly. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the show with our meteorologist, as well as we prepare for another round of serious to severe weather this evening. Don't just, hear it and keep moving. Hear it, take note, make plans. It's 1:14. Let's take 2 minutes for a break, and then we'll be back to move forward with our conversations here. Okay, welcome back, everyone. It's 1:16 right now, and before we get into our next conversation, let's just take a moment for a bipartisan view. It does include Illinois Congressman Danny Davis and First Lady Melania Trump here. They are championing a bipartisan effort, a legislative initiative protecting America's foster care children. Let's listen into for a minute.
Chairman Smith, for having this full committee roundtable. And I want to welcome you, Madam First Lady, and just commend you for your passion and commitment to our foster youth. Your voice and the way that you've championed this cause is inspiring, and we're grateful to have you here today. Your longstanding attention to uplifting America's foster youth through the Be Best and Fostering the Future initiatives has been a catalyst for meaningful and transformative change. I don't know if everybody realizes, but your engagement with this committee on foster care dates back to 2022, when you co-authored an op-ed with our colleague, former Representative Jackie Walorski, highlighting May as National Foster Care Month in 2022. We thank you for that. And as chairman of the Work and Welfare Subcommittee, one of my priorities has been how do we modernize the Chafee foster care program? Last January, we received a troubling report from the Government Accountability Office, which found states across the country have been returning unused Chafee funds since 2007, despite the need from foster youth. In 2023 alone, more than 30 states returned $8.9 million in unused funds. Over the past year, a bipartisan group of members of this committee has been working to develop and introduce common sense reforms to make sure Chafee dollars are getting to the youth that need them. And I want to thank Ranking Member Davis and my friend and the members who are leading these bills for their leadership and partnership on this. During our hearings, I have consistently heard that access to stable housing is one of our biggest barriers that youth face as they work towards self-sufficiency.
Well, it's a beautiful thing to see some bipartisan action happening there in Washington, D.C. We actually took this live shot as Democratic Congressman Danny Davis was speaking, and as soon as we started listening in, Republican Illinois Senator Representative Darren LaHood started speaking. He is the one speaking there. So we got two sides of the aisle, both from Illinois, that are there on opposite sides of the First Lady for this committee. One where you would expect more people to see from the same lens that America's foster children need all of our help, regardless of your political party. So nice to see them working together to try to help children in this country. All right, let's move forward. As we're speaking of helping children in this country, there has just been a lot of attention on a case of a former UCLA gynecologist who was accused of horrific acts over a number of years. And he has now pleaded guilty to 14 counts related to the sexual abuse of patients during his time at the university. I want to bring in the attorneys who are representing over 200 victims. And it's just, it makes your head spin here. Attorneys Jennifer McGrath and Darren Kavanaughey, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Darren, did I get your last name correct?
Close enough. Kavanaughey.
Kavanaughey.
You're right
okay.
there in the neighborhood.
Okay. Yeah. Want to make sure that I got that right. Kavanaughey. Let me know how you all became party to this particular case.
Yes, well, thank you so much for just bringing attention to the case. It's really important for others in every community in the United States to understand that sometimes medical doctors, we have to question what they're doing and maybe alert someone if we don't think what they're doing is medically necessary or correct. We became involved in a single case where a woman came forward to the medical board in California and let them know that her gynecologist had made sexual contact with her during an exam. Then that continued to unfortunately unfold, and we became aware of hundreds of others. We actually represent over 300 women, and there were a total of over 500 women in the case. These physicians, they're large health systems. UCLA Health is gigantic, and this physician saw many, many patients, thousands of patients over the course of his career before he was stopped.
But it's mind-boggling how we get to those levels. I mean, we saw it with Larry Nassar. What were the claims that you all were hearing as the claims were adding up? I mean, when we say, and I don't obviously want to get into all of the details, but I'm sure a lot of people wonder, you know, for a gynecologist, how we end up in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, that it is difficult to talk about, and that's one of the reasons that perpetrators and predators can continue to do what they're doing, because it's very difficult to, and women feel shameful when they discuss it. But basically, during medical exams, this then physician was engaging in sexually stimulating behaviors, right? And that was something that women who were experiencing it, and these were mainly adults, would just question themselves and say, well, maybe that was accidental. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm having some type of reaction that I shouldn't be having. There's something wrong with me. But that is basically what was going on during the course of what should have been very routine well woman exams, prenatal exams, things of that nature.
Yeah. So
I think if I may jump in on
Please.
this, that you know, you mentioned the Larry Nassar case, and it's sad and shocking how prevalent these cases are in Los Angeles during the same period of time. You may be familiar with another gynecology abuse case that was happening at USC, involving students and other people in the community there. Also, at the same time, we've recently learned there was another gynecologist, this time at Cedars-Sinai Hospital, which is one of the premier health institutions in Los Angeles, if not the world. And there was another doctor there, a gynecologist, Barry J. Brock, who was also, as alleged in our complaints, we now represent more than 100 women in this case involving Barry Brock, engaged in the same kind of inappropriate, sexually stimulating contact. And I think it's a great reminder for any patients during an intimate exam to trust their gut. If something felt off, if something felt wrong, it probably was. And if there's anything that your viewers can take away, it's to please find somebody safe to discuss this with.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I wanted to get into. Is what should we take away from this on a greater scale? I mean, listening to what sounds like a very pervasive scenario, that it's not just one doctor, it's not just one state, it's not just one school, and you have a lot of questions going through your mind. So with a guilty plea, what will happen next? What does it mean?
Well, it means closure for all of our clients. This was a case, as Jennifer mentioned, we began in 2019, and there were two aspects to it. There were the civil cases where Jennifer and I represented more than 300 women seeking financial justice. There was also the criminal case, which in this instance, Dr. Heaps was fighting every step of the way. So for all of our clients, whether they were named victims in the criminal case or one of the more than 300, hearing Heaps say the word guilty over and over and over again was an acknowledgement that they were right. And I think it was, for me as a practicing attorney, you know, Jennifer and I do nothing but this kind of work. It was one of those days in my legal career I will never forget. It was a reminder that this is why we do this, to help bring accountability, to help bring closure to our clients. It was powerful.
And even if it's closure for a particular case, I'm wondering, I mean, as we continue to have these huge cases proceed, what's happening from an institutional level? Like what is changing to keep us from having these big cases?
Yeah, it's a great question. Institutions need to take this seriously. Obviously, it has happened, you know, all over the world, and they need to change their policies so that it is very clear to patients how they can make a complaint, and then that complaint is escalated appropriately and taken seriously and can't just die on the vine, so to speak, and never goes anywhere. It's incredibly important that institutions have mechanisms by which they believe people who are reporting sexual abuse or sexual misconduct and professionally investigate those claims, because oftentimes it's very difficult for women, and of course this impacts men and boys as well, for anyone to talk about it and articulate it very clearly what has happened. They may not feel comfortable doing that initially, and institutions have to recognize that and train their employees to understand that even if what they're hearing isn't perfectly clear, even if a patient is saying something like, oh, I felt like that physician was creepy or something was off, that needs to be taken seriously and it needs to be investigated. And that's what the institutions need to do immediately.
Yeah, it's really sad that it seems only these kinds of large cases where these institutions are hit where it hurts, namely in their checking accounts. It's the only thing that grabs their attention. We saw it in the UCLA case involving HEAPS, that women had been reporting about HEAPS for decades. And we're seeing it again in the case that we're now handling against Cedars-Sinai with Dr. Brock. We have clients that had reported this decades ago, and the institutions, for whatever reason, failed to take it seriously, failed to act reasonably, and they prioritized profits over their patients. So hopefully the cumulative effect of all of these cases will be true institutional change.
And UCLA has agreed to nearly $700 million in settlements. I mean, you would think that these universities, you can't just keep heaping out $700 million. That, yes, to your point, that alone, I mean, the accusations that have been proven should be enough, but the $700 million in one full swoop should say we've got to make a huge change so that we never have to do this again.
Well, in the case of UCLA, they actually have now made institutional changes. Now, when a patient goes to UCLA for an intimate exam, they are told about their right to have a chaperone in the room. It's something that's rigorously enforced. Sadly, there were no such policies in place, it appears, in the case of Cedars-Sinai Hospital and the matter we're now handling.
Yeah, I just wonder, I mean, even with that, if you're thinking about college age young women going in to see a gynecologist, are they going to opt for someone else to be in the room? Like, I'm not sure. Is it a screening method that we're missing for the doctors? What are we missing that this keeps happening?
Well, hopefully these institutions are doing appropriate background checks, and presumably doctors come on board without any evidence in their background of sexual misconduct. But again, it's about the investigation. If there is even a hint of any impropriety, it needs to be investigated. And I think the other thing, sadly, that we have to accept is that we all, as patients, I think we're taught from a very young age when we're children and our parents take us to the pediatrician to just accept that the doctor's the authority, and whatever the doctor is doing, even if it's uncomfortable or painful or causes discomfort, that's okay and that they're doing their job. Sadly, I think we all have to realize that sometimes is not the case. And we have to approach being a patient in that way and not set aside and dismiss our own concerns. But as Darren said, talk to a trusted person. If you think something has happened, if you think something is happening that's inappropriate, just ask to leave the situation and report it to someone that you trust, and hopefully to the institution itself. And I think we really need to educate our young people about that as well. It's extremely unfortunate, but there are bad actors out there in the world, and we all need to be proactive and bold enough as well, if we can find that in ourselves, to talk to a trusted person and hopefully make an institutional report if something feels wrong or off.
Yeah. And so this James Heaps, what will happen to him? I mean, is he going to prison? Do we have a sentencing date?
Yeah, it's he's been in custody since October of 2022, so he will remain in custody and is on his way to state prison, back to state prison after his recent court appearance, and he'll be there until he serves out his time. At that point, he will be required to register as a sex offender for the rest of his life, to put the community on notice. Obviously, will not be able to practice medicine. So thankfully, it appears that the community will be safer from one more predator.
One more. Thank you so much. We appreciate both of you all for being here. It is very unfortunate that we're speaking under under these terms, but thank you for what you do in protecting people.
No, thank you. I think it's exactly these conversations to raise awareness that really do help. So we're grateful to be here and have it today. Thank you.
Absolutely. You all take care.
Very much.
Have a good rest
You
of
as
your
well.
day. It's 1:32, everyone. It's just, it really just makes you shake your head, puts a pit in your stomach to, one, think about what all of these people went through before there was any type of accountability here. But then also, again, to think about that fact that it's one person off of the streets, one person out of, out of a setting where they could be screening people and violating them in this type of way. But we know that it's not just one person who's committing these types of acts. It's 1:33, so let's go ahead and take a 2-minute break. I'll let you know about some of the things that are trending on our website, and we'll proceed with our conversations from there. Welcome back, everyone. 1:35. Our next guest is already on the line, so I'm not going to wait any longer for this conversation because we know she is a very busy lady, and we're just so appreciative of that she's back with us after the Artemis II mission. We have NASA expert Dr. Kelsey Young, the Artemis II lunar science lead. Thank you so much for circling back with us.
Thank you for inviting me back. I'm so happy to be here. I love coming here.
Oh, we appreciate having you. And we were just so proud to say we knew somebody in mission control.
It was a blast. And honestly, I'm back at, my regular day-to-day job here now at Goddard, but really missing last week and the excitement of the lunar flyby.
Yeah. Is it quite the what do I do now after something that huge?
Yeah, it's been good. I was definitely gone for quite a while, and it was good to be back with my two young kids. So really enjoying some good family time. It's been great to see them, get some snuggles.
There's that. I'm sure that was wonderful as well, returning to them. So walk us through the mission. I mean, you had a successful launch. Things went fairly smooth, it seemed like to us, the novice eyes, during the actual time, making history, going further than any humans before, and we all watched the splashdown as well. But from your perspective, how did things go?
Honestly, I'm not, it's incredible kind of what the entire mission team was able to pull off, not just the crew. And of course, oh my gosh, I mean, I run out of like superlatives to use about how wonderful the four crew members were, but the entire ground team, from the launch team down to the recovery team, the mission control team, the engineering teams, the science team, it was just such a joy to obviously be a part of it, but also just watch the team excel. I almost don't have words for just like the level of competence I saw across the board. And then it honestly meant even more than it would have already, just because of the amount of public support we got. Just seeing the enthusiasm and the excitement and the inspiration from all around the world, honestly, I'm gonna remember this, for the rest of my life.
What was the moment that stuck out to you the most?
Oh, that's hard. I mean, obviously launch and splashdown were big. Knowing the crew members and knowing also the team that poured everything they had into this, those just moments, those symbolic moments, obviously, and those really complicated, engineering and operations moments really meant a lot. Of course, I mean, hearing them give descriptions of the moon just really filled my heart so thoroughly. I think I even said to you last time we talked that the thing I was most looking forward to was that very first time on flyby day that the crew was describing like the real moon out the real windows instead of our simulations and our visualizations. And that bore out for me, like hearing them actually, like the excitement in their voice, the passion in their voice, just how excited they got to give us these really scientifically impactful descriptions. That's going to stick out as a highlight for me.
Were there any surprises along the way to you?
Absolutely. I think the biggest one, a big part of the internet saw on my face real time. One of our top priority science objectives was impact flash investigations, which are bright spots that appear very, very briefly on the lunar surface that are formed from micrometeoroids coming and hitting the surface. And that was, we trained the crew in monitoring them, monitoring for them, and even going into the, to the flyby operations day, we're giving reminders to them about impact flashes. But the fact that they not only saw one, but they saw multiple, you saw it in my face when the commander, Reed Wiseman, reported down that they had seen multiple. I was just completely shocked. I also heard later that the scientist who was kind of in charge of that investigation on our science team literally screamed in delight when she heard it. So at least I didn't do that.
At least you didn't. And how is it? I mean, having such immediate worldwide reaction available to you now in society's time of social media. So it's not just you all kind of connecting with each other, but that everybody else is giving their input on it too online.
Honestly, I was so focused leading up to the mission, obviously on the task at hand, that I didn't think too much about it going into the mission, right? My job is to just get the team ready, get myself ready, support the crew and support the mission. And I don't know what I would have thought had I, put dedicated time to it. But that was why, just seeing the amount of support and the amount of positive energy was so fulfilling. I'm getting chills up my arms thinking about it. And to be totally honest, I did not have a ton of time during the mission to look through everything, but I was getting kind of screenshots sent from family and friends and things like that. And even now, a few days later, being able to kind of go back and look at some of the content, I mean, how often do we have these like absolutely unifying positive things that everybody is seeing and experiencing the same things at the same time? Of course, the crew was the biggest part of that. The amount that they're able to communicate so clearly and viscerally and like bring you along with them is so inspiring. But also the fact that people got excited about the science and the moon, just seeing the outpouring of support. I mean, it's again going to be one of my biggest takeaways from this entire mission for the rest of my life.
Oh, and as we're, listening to you, we're also looking at the medal on your neck. Is that new bling from the mission?
It's actually not. It's the moon, so it has the near side on one side and the far side on the other side. And ever since I got it several months ago, I've been wearing it with the far side side out every day I go to work as sort of a, reminder of what we're working toward. So I wore it every day during the mission, and I've been wearing it every day at work since then. So great moon bling.
I love it. Now you mentioned what you all are working toward. This was a test mission. Tell me a little bit about what you feel you all learned and took from this that will go into future operations.
Oh my gosh, it's such a good question. First of all, if you want to, really get into the weeds of what our team is doing, we will be publishing a series of reports as well as all of the lunar science relevant data no later than 6 months from now, and we're hoping for a little earlier. So if anybody watching at home just really wants to just like get really into the details, I really encourage you to stay tuned. We'll be, putting those out publicly. But right now, sitting here, like less than a week post mission, we have already really been able to start to make progress diving through the data we got. So from a scientific perspective, the science team is just, it was so exciting watching them during the flyby, but then when we started to get data down in the mission, it's a bunch of really amazing, super smart kids like looking at this data being like, yes, we now get to like flip that part of our brain on and really dive deep into the data. So we do have some initial kind of like science perspectives, but to your point, critically, half of our charter for this mission is to set future missions up for success. So we already learned so much about the process of integrating lunar science into Artemis missions, both in the planning phase, but also the execution phase, and being able to capture how our team worked together, how we got input to and from the crew. There is just such this rich set of experience that we now have that already today I've been in meetings about the next mission and how we're going to be able to capitalize on lessons learned.
Really? Already? There's no take a breath, take a week.
It's like we all love our jobs so much. We're all so passionate about our jobs. And so am I taking a couple days off? Yes. But I'm thrilled to be here in the office supporting missions about Artemis II and also 4, 5 and beyond.
Oh my goodness. And you were able to speak directly with the astronauts as they're up there. What struck you about how they handled the situation?
I think I said this earlier, but I can't say it enough, honestly. I don't have words to describe what my respect and admiration for these 4 crew members, and of course the 2 backup crew members as well, who we worked with extensively, and who you saw, Jenny Gibbons, one of the 2 backup crew members, be the Capcom, the prime communicator for the crew a few times during the mission. I'm so grateful that these people, came into our Artemis lives the way that they did and the way that they communicated everything. But specifically from a science perspective, they were doing active field science on this mission. You heard them actually refining multiple working hypotheses during the flyby. Cannot ask for more than that. Plus, every description they gave was rich with scientific insight as much as it was rich with excitement and wonder and communicating to us here on Earth what they were seeing.
Well, I just know you're going to be very busy with so many people who have questions of you. So we are so elated, honestly, that you took time to join us here on this show. Now, we mentioned that you're back there in Virginia now, but we also found out that you have family here in the Chicago area. So if you want to give them a shout out before I let you go, feel free.
Yes, absolutely. Shout out to my friends and family in Chicago. And I'm actually coming out your way in a couple weeks to go back to my alma mater, Notre Dame. So shout out to them as well.
Aha. Okay. So what I heard is that you will be here in studio very soon. Did I hear that correct?
I'll just be coming to, see Chicago and then go and go talk to my Notre Dame, my Notre Dame home.
Well, know that the invite is there. If you'd like to come in, we would love to have you here.
Thanks so much. And thanks for the continued interest. I love coming in and chatting with you guys. This is a real highlight.
All right. Thank you for what you do. And congratulations.
Thanks. Back at you.
All right. 146. Great speaking with her. She has such a beautiful spirit. And oh my goodness, I mean, it feels like really everyone involved with the mission, just in watching even the press conferences with the astronauts, but everybody you talk to or hear from that was involved with the mission, like they're still working on finding the words for what they saw. I mean, it was just spectacular. And that's from the eyes of those of us who don't know science the way they do. So for it to leave them in awe, for it to leave them with wonder, just speaks to really what we all witnessed together, that it is hard to put words, to describe it at this point. But for sure, they have learned some things that are going to help for many, many years to come. So bravo to them, a successful mission, and lots of lessons learned that will help move us forward when we go back to the moon and beyond. 147, and a couple of things that are populating on our website right now. We've had a lot of conversations about the West Suburban Medical Center that was closing, and hearing, how it was going to impact so many people who depend on it, obviously, especially with it being in their area. And so we found out now that this center is going to actually, West Suburban Medical Center is resuming hospital-based clinics and testing services. This is the first step to gradually reopening the facility, but they have a lot of steps to take. So gradual does not mean that it's all going to go well, but this is kind of the first step here. So patients are being scheduled, staff's returning, emergency and inpatient services, you do need to know this, emergency and inpatient services remain closed. But they are restoring some services here critical for the surrounding area. It's an underserved community, and if you think about being in an underserved community, having that hospital there is critical, not just for everyday appointments, but the barriers, the outcomes, that when you lose those things, when you lose that hospital right there in that community, it really has a long lasting impact. So again, they are resuming some services, some are still closed, but they are resuming some services in that area. And remember everyone, it is tax day, so a lot of people are going to our website, looking up tax tips. You have until 11:59 p.m. tonight. So I hope you get those tips on our website. We have plenty of information there to help you out. We also have some freebies just in case you're out and about today after, filing your taxes. And maybe you're stressed, I need some ice cream or something like that. We have the information on our website for you. And it is trending right now again, as a lot of people are looking for both tax tips, last minute tax tips, and also some freebies out there. We have all of it for you online. And remember, we had that breaking news that I told you about at the top of the hour regarding tipped wages. We are getting more information about that now. Our own pair of shuts, and stand by because likely, I believe in our 2 o'clock hour. Yeah, in our 2 o'clock hour, we do anticipate that Mayor Johnson will come out of council and do a press conference, and we are likely to hear some more information from his side of things, as his veto will now stand for that tip wage ordinance. The councilors were not able to get a supermajority to override his veto. So those are some things that are coming, some things that people are looking for on our website. It's 1:50 though. Let's take a 2-minute break. We'll be back with our next conversation. Welcome back, everyone. We love to see the buildings that hold so much history in our area being restored and used for many years to come. And for sure, Chris Bauman's ideas for the 106-year-old Portage Theater are coming into shape. And so let's bring him into the conversation now. Chris Bauman from Zenith Music Group, thank you so much for your time. I think Chris might be frozen. Oh no. So let me tell you a little bit about his ideas here and what we're looking at until we can get him back online and hopefully with a smooth connection here. So we do know that the theater sat vacant for several years and there were a lot of conversations as to what to do with it during that time. So he came in, he paid off the back taxes that were owed on it. He took over the payments for a canopy that was erected there for a marquee, and then he started to clean up the theater. I mean, again, holds a lot of history, 106-year-old theater in this area, and so he's trying to bring it back. He wants it to be a community hub. He wants it to be a space where people can gather for many years here, and so he began doing the work to bring that back. He says he wants to return it to its history of diverse programming, and with an ever-changing calendar of events, he anticipates that there will be many more things to come. Speaking of a lot of things that he had to go through just to get it this far, he said he's going to spend 3 to 6 more months raising money for some more necessary renovations here. If you think about a 106-year-old building, obviously they have a lot of work to do in there to get it back to its old grandeur, right? And probably add some, not just bring it back, but add some new things that will take it forward. But once secured, the funding is secured, he expects that the full construction should take 6 to 12 months. And so we've just been following along the journey, hoping that, I remember us reporting when we were hoping that somebody was going to step in and try to take it over. And then, of course, Chris stepped in and started that process, that journey. Chris, thank you so much for rejoining. We really want to hear from you. How are things going with this revamp now that you're doing of the Portage Theater?
Anita, thank you so much for having me. It's going great. Honestly, I just feel I feel so fortunate to be able to reopen Portage Theater. Portage Theater is a treasure, and it's a shame that theaters like Portage Theater and others have closed down over the decades. And we're just really excited to bring life back to Portage Theater, and when we reopen Portage Theater over the coming year, really get it ready for the next 100 years. That's the idea, is to really preserve all the historical beauty of the building, while at the same time preparing it for the events of the next century, the next 100 years.
Mm-hmm. And how is that, trying to think through the next 100 years, like what might be going on in 100 years?
Isn't that fun to think about? I see, at least personally, the next 100 years, really a lot of the same that we're experiencing today. That is concerts with some of the biggest musicians in the world. That's cinema with some of the best movies in the world, and especially independent movie makers. You see all these wonderful directors who are producing content on YouTube or TikToks, etc., who are hungry to have in-person environments to show their movies. And so farmers markets, boxing matches. I see Portage Theater as the center of the community of not only the northwest side of Chicago, but really as Chicago as a whole, just another asset to really bring value to the entire ecosystem of entertainment in Chicago, which, Chicago, I've said this before, Chicago is the center of the universe when it comes to independent music and entertainment in the United States.
How does it make you feel to have this opportunity? I mean, it's huge.
Honestly, it's a little overwhelming, but in a good way. I've done it before with patio theater. I've done it before with Avondale Music Hall, both in Chicago, and both are incredible venues. I'm excited I'm excited to take it on. And this time around, having opened other venues in the past, I'm creating something called the Portage Theater Foundation to create a platform for the community in Chicago as a whole, and really the nation as a whole, to help support Portage Theater for the next 100 years. Portage Theater has gone through numerous owners over its 106-year-old history. My vision is really to create a platform to welcome in the community and get their feedback, allow an avenue to program their own events, to program their own plays, to program anything that they could imagine. I really want Portage to be the sandbox that Chicagoans can create with. And to also answer your question, AI, everyone's talking AI. The one thing AI is never going to be able to do is get on stage and perform in a way that's going to give you goosebumps. And that is where, preserving places like Portage are going to come in, especially in the future of AI and computers and screens.
Well, we never know what the future holds, but I'm with you so far. And I was reading that, of course, you're looking for raising funds to help with the renovations. How can people help you?
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And I'm really excited to come back and talk once the foundation is live. That should be in the next 60 days. Really, what we're looking for right now are passionate Chicagoans, sponsors, people who love Chicago culture, who want to come and help, right? And that could be anyone, a leading sponsor with the foundation, to really just your anyday Chicagoan who loves these theaters and wants to help. We're going to be getting volunteer groups together to just clean up. We're going to have various events going on over the next year to just shine a highlight on the Portage Theater history and really, again, what it's going to become in the future. There's an email that people can reach out to. It's portagetheater@zenithmusicgroup.com. And it's honestly, Anita, it's been incredible. I've had accountants and lawyers and architects and hundreds of emails of just Chicagoans who are excited to see Portage open up again and have written volunteering their services and just wanting to get involved. So if you like to program events, if you like to do concerts, if you just want to lend a helping hand, or you have a skill set you believe you could be helpful with to this project, I'd love to hear from you.
I think it's awesome. So many people who just want to be a part of history. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Congratulations on getting this far, and we look forward to more conversations as you're getting everything put in place. And I think it froze again, but we were at the end of our conversation. So it's 2:00, everyone. 2 minutes. We'll be back. I'll set you up for where we're going in this next hour of Chicago Live. Welcome back, everyone. It's about 2:04 right now. We are in our second hour here on Chicago Live. Thanks for staying with us or just now tuning in. We appreciate you being here online. Let's talk a little bit about what's coming up in this hour. Any moment, we are anticipating a press conference with Mayor Johnson. When that begins, we're going to try to take that as we did get some breaking news really that came out of the council session today, where council members were really trying to mount up in opposition to his veto of the tipped wage ordinance. It failed. And so we're going to hear from him at any moment. And when he proceeds to the podium, we'll listen into that for a bit. But in terms of our conversations, we have pulled in a group called Home for Good, a program called Home for Good that we're looking to get more information on. If you think about the obstacles that stand in the way of someone who is trying to re-enter society after being incarcerated, when they're trying to turn their lives around, some of the things that keep them or hinder the process of them turning their lives around. This is a program that kind of stands there to say, let's smooth out that way. And so Illinois Justice Project's director is going to be joining us to talk about the program and how it's helping people who need a second chance. We're also going to talk about the Makers Madness program. We told you about it when it was getting ready to start. It is the program that says who in Illinois, what company in Illinois has done the most to be recognized as the best of the best in any given year here in our state. And it's always really cool to find out the wonderful things that are being made in our state, where you're like, oh, I didn't realize that came from Illinois. Well, or that's being made in Illinois. We're going to find out who won, who's getting the accolades for this year, and some bragging rights for many years. That's coming up shortly. We're also going to talk about stadiums. Not just for the Bears, but throughout the country. There's a shifting economic outlook for stadiums, and it really hits hard for the upper deck seating. I honestly had not thought about this, but those seats, the higher they go in a stadium, cost more when you're building a stadium. And so the shifting economics of it says, okay, if the licensing agreements, if TV, Netflix, whatever it is, the streaming services, if all of those things are bringing in more money now, do we still need to spend as much on going far up for seating that costs less? So some teams are and companies are making different decisions now as they have different money-making opportunities, and we're going to talk about it with the Sports Business Journal about that. But first, I'm looking forward to this conversation right now about gravel cycling. Wisconsin has launched the nation's first branded statewide gravel cycling network, anchored by a granite belt in central Wisconsin. And I have Bill Bertram, who is a project partner, joining me now to talk about it. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you.
Bill, in my cycling days, I lived for an opportunity to find a good trail and get out there for an hour or two and just ride. It really takes your mind off of everything. Tell me about this new era for outdoor recreation.
Sure. I'm originally from Illinois, grew up in the Quad City area, and then been located in central Wisconsin for the last 15 years. And we initiated a project in 2018 called Wisconsin Gravel. And we recently developed close to 900 miles of gravel in and around the Wisconsin area. And what's unique about our gravel versus any other gravel in the United States, it's based on red granite, which is a faceted stone and interlocks on itself to create a really hard pack for bike riders. And we use dairy roads, logging roads, rails to trails, and rustic roads as the backbone of our trail system over a 5-county area.
This is super neat. 5 counties, about how many miles is that?
So it's just a hair under 900 miles of gravel where we use these township roads to get bikers away from central communities, or what we'll ultimately brand as trail towns, out into the county. So you get to see the iconic red barns and the scenery of central and northern Wisconsin. And kind of unlike the gravel that you have in Illinois, where it's limestone, the red granite is just an incredible stone to ride on, almost like riding on blacktop.
Wow, very intriguing. And so doing this interview with Chicago Live, as people are hearing about it, there's so many cycling groups in our area. Should they be saying, okay, let's take a ride up there? Can they venture on this now? Is it soon to open? Where are we in the process?
Great question. The trails were developed with Ride with GPS. So if you're a bike rider, most of us use that as a riding app. So you could hop on the trail system today. They're all looped trails, and they're all interlocked. So you can jump from one trail to the next. The longest trail we have is called Billy Bowl Jack, and it's a 367-mile bike packing trail. And we think the first in the branded trail in the state, with camping along the way. So it's probably a 5 to 7 day bike trip for most riders. But with the advent of e-bikes, which is the fastest growing segment of biking today, these trails are just absolutely perfect for families and for kids, and it interlocks the trailheads in a number of quaint rural communities throughout northern Wisconsin. So everything from a beer to a local beer, I'll say Wisconsin beer, to ice cream are located along the trail. So great family activities.
That is awesome. I did a 106-mile ride one day, and I longed for any opportunity to stop.
I bet you did.
It was a very long day.
I can only imagine.
Tell us a bit of your background, why you wanted to be a project partner on this.
Yeah, so my background, I'm a retired executive from a manufacturing company located here in the Wausau area. But I had a 4-year stint with the company in the Netherlands. And, as I tell people, you can easily live without a car in the Netherlands. You cannot live without a bike. And I brought that headset back with me. And the Dutch have a real different way of business. It's tying the university education with businesses, with the government. So we're really lucky to have a number of partners in this project, from the Wisconsin Department of Tourism and the Wisconsin Department of Outdoor Rec, to local visitor bureaus, as well as the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. And so we're able to, we've developed the trail systems. We use current technology in terms of GIS mapping of it. And then we've done something in terms of geofence the trail. So we can actually tell how many people are on the trail system.
Wow.
Adds a level of safety that you typically haven't had when you've been bike riding in the past in terms of remote areas. And the trails were designed by a fellow board member on an outdoor rec organization I belong to, that rides about 1,200 miles of gravel in this 5-county area every summer. So very just an extensive interlock trail system showing the best of Wisconsin.
This seems so cool, and I'm seeing that you all feel this is just the beginning. What are some things that are planned?
Yeah, great question again. So we're working with other communities to the west of us. We're using the unique geology and topography of Wisconsin for different areas of the state. So, for example, west of us, we're defining that as the Chippewa Drift area. To the south of us in Stevens Point, that was the Central Sands area, which was the bottom of Glacial Lake, Wisconsin during the last ice age. So we plan to develop 5 to 7 counties at a time. To the north of us, it'll be the pinery. And the white pine was a tree that was chased across America that helped define Wisconsin as a state in terms of its logging industry. So we'll continue to develop these regions with all the trail systems interconnected across the state with the goal of having multiple trail systems from the head of Wisconsin to the toe of Wisconsin, and hopefully integrated into Illinois. So you'd be able to ride your bike from downtown Chicago someday all the way up to the Lake Superior.
Wow. Can't wait for that opportunity. I mean, all of it seems amazing. Thank you for what you all have given, the opportunities that will come from it. I'm sure people will enjoy it for many years. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for introducing it in the Chicagoland area.
Absolutely. You take care.
Yeah, same to you now. You
Okay.
Have a great day.
All right. And everybody, you can explore routes, maps, and get some travel information for the new opportunities there in Wisconsin at www.wisconsingravel.org. Again, www.wisconsingravel.org. Pretty cool stuff. 2:15, give us 2 minutes. You can see this is Illinois Senator Dick Durbin, who is speaking on the floor. We're going to listen to this as we go to break.
Safe in our homes and neighborhoods, safe across the United States. The president said over and over again, ICE is going to go after the worst of the worst, quote unquote. Rapists, murderers, terrorists, the criminally insane, we're going to go find them. So what has happened in the months that ICE has been on this crusade? 1 out of 7 people that they've detained or removed from the United States actually had a serious criminal record. It made no difference. The Stephen Miller plan is to put fear in the hearts of all the immigrants to the United States, and that's what they set out to do. It's not a question of safety in the neighborhoods. It's a question of whether or not we are going to tolerate immigration in America. I think there ought to be some basics and a bipartisan agreement when it comes to immigration. Let me tell you what I think those basics are. We should never knowingly allow a dangerous person to come into this country. Number 2, if there's a person in this country who's seeking legal status and they do something serious, like commission of a crime, or they're dangerous, they're gone. Gone. Third, we cannot absorb at any one time all the people in the world who want to come to the United States. We need to have an orderly system. I think those 3 elements are the starting point of bipartisan conversation. When it comes to the future of immigration, I was involved several years ago with the Gang of 8, 4 Democratic senators, 4 Republican senators, among them John McCain and Chuck Schumer, and we sat down for months and wrote up a bill, comprehensive immigration reform. It was supported by business and labor and the agriculture groups, and by and large it was bipartisan from start to finish. More money was put into border security than ever in the history of the United States. That bill passed the United States Senate with a bipartisan vote. That should have been the beginning of a conversation that leads us away from where we are today. But what happened, it was sent to the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, and for a variety of political reasons went nowhere. It's time for us to return and visit that issue again for a comprehensive immigration reform plan. We've got to tell Stephen Miller to cool it, as far as I'm concerned. To turn ICE loose on more and more communities is just to make people fearful and not solve the problem we face. We've got to work together to solve it with a comprehensive plan, and we should be started on that immediately. Mr. President, I will also tell you that when it comes to the future involvement of the United States, we have a serious question in the Middle East. I cannot tell you what the objective of the president is when it comes to the war in Iran. If you take a look at what happened today, we had a roll call vote on my colleague Senator Duckworth's motion that would have given Congress the authority to declare war, as the Constitution states in Article 1, Section 8. It was defeated on a partisan vote. Once again, we've tried this 2 or 3 other times. This is an effort to make sure that we have a conversation about the war in Iran. Do you know how many public hearings we have had in Congress about the invasion of Iran? None. Not one. We're virtually in a war that has gone on now for 70 days or so, and we have not debated it. What is the purpose of our invasion of Iran? The president has given 6, 7, 8 different explanations depending on the time of day. One day it's to close the Straits of Hormuz. The next day it's to open the Straits of Hormuz. One day it's to get regime change in Iran. The next day it's to reject the regime that's governing in Iran. The next day we're going to be eliminating missiles, and it goes on and on. You can't keep up with it. And the problem, of course, is that there's an impact on families all across the world, but especially in the United States when it comes to the cost of living. When you ask American families, how you doing? They say, not so well, thank you. When we take a look at the cost of raising a family these days, we see the cost of groceries hitting all-time high. We see our utility bills going up. In Illinois, they've gone up 15% this year over last year. We see the cost of gasoline going through the roof. It's over $4 a gallon in Illinois. In some parts of Chicago, over $5 a gallon. That is a real hardship on working families. Why are we in this mess with gasoline? Because of the invasion of Iran and the disruption of the flow of oil through the Straits of Hormuz into Europe and beyond. That is the reality of the president's invasion. Did anyone in the White House or Department of Defense sit down and measure the impact of what it would mean if we invaded Iran on the global economy? This morning I heard on the radio someone projecting the possibility of a global recession. Was that part of your calculation, Mr. President? We don't know because we can't understand what the president's motives are from a day-to-day basis when it comes to the future of Iran. Do we want Iran to have a nuclear weapon? Of course not. What have we done about it? Under the Obama administration, we negotiated international inspectors to go into Iran to see whether or not they were developing a nuclear bomb. I met with some of those inspectors on a regular basis. They were getting doors open and questions asked and answered, photos being taken, and a reporting at the time. What happened to President Trump in his first term? He eliminated the agreement that created the inspectors. And then what did he replace it with? Nothing. Nothing until he invaded Iran 2 months ago. We need international inspectors in place to make sure that Iran does not develop a nuclear weapon, and we certainly are not moving in that direction with the President Trump invasion. So, Mr. President, we have a situation which the president's chaos and cost of living increases and confusion has really created problems for families across the United States. It's time for us to remember that our goal is to make it better for those who are raising children and trying to feed a family. This war in Iran is not the answer to that, and I yield the floor.
All right, welcome back, everyone. 2:25 right now, and as we prepare for our next conversation, let's go over a few things that are trending on our website, fox32chicago.com, a few of the stories that a lot of people are looking for. So Chicago is looking to shut down the Ford City Mall. Has a lot of people talking online. I've been seeing it over the last 24 hours here. They call it a magnet for crime. Magnet for crime. So Ford City Mall could be closing. They say that it poses a risk to patrons. Customers say the mall isn't as busy and as it used to be, but they wouldn't miss it if it were closed. I mean, no one wants to see an institution in their neighborhood closed, but at the same time, it could be a matter of safety here. There is a developer that wants to build new industrial buildings in its place. So that kind of adds to maybe why the city is saying if nobody's going to be in there, there's not going to be any, businesses that thrive within it, that they wanted to step in and close it so that this developer could come in and make it a safe space and do something productive with it. They're just talking about a lot of hazardous conditions in there right now. So they are seeking an emergency motion to vacate that building right now due to the hazardous conditions. We'll continue to keep you updated, but we do have a story posted online so that you can get the information that we have right now. A lot of people talking about this one as well. 2 people found dead in a Chicago home, and now we know, as of this morning, we found out that it's the widow and son of a late Cook County commissioner. Very emotional scene outside of this home yesterday evening. Obviously, we want to give people their privacy as they process what's happened in their neighborhood, but at the same time, there were a lot of questions. So we're also just trying to do our jobs in terms of finding out the information that people want to hear. So it's a 51-year-old woman, 23-year-old man who were found shot to death inside this North Lawndale home yesterday evening, and they have now been identified as the widow and the son of late Cook County Commissioner Dennis Deere. There was a weapon that was recovered there. Police are investigating this, though, as a homicide, and there are no arrests that have been made. I believe that the widow, the wife, Barbara Deere, she was the lead for the Juneteenth proceedings in the state. So well-known family, very well-known family, and a lot of people just shocked at what took place yesterday evening. The son, college graduate, he's a twin, and still looking for a lot more information. We did get a statement in from Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle, who said, "Today we mourn alongside the Deere family as they endure another heartbreaking and unimaginable loss with the passing of former Commissioner Dennis Deere's beloved wife and son." The Deere family has long been well known in the community for their compassion and steadfast commitment to others. Their presence and service touch countless lives. There are no words that can make sense of such pain, but I hope the surviving family members find strength in the love that surrounds them. I extend my deepest condolences to all who love them. We hold the Deere family in our hearts and prayers during this incredibly difficult time. Again, those are the words of Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle following the identification of the 2 people who were found in that home in North Lawndale now as the widow and son of late Cook County Commissioner Dennis Deere. One other story that was just posted online, if you want to check this out, this is on our website right now, about a suburban Chicago museum. Their Titanic exhibit took on a lot of water in the storms. I know, it's just it's super ironic. A Titanic exhibit taking on water, but powerful round of storms that we had in our area yesterday, and so the Titanic exhibit flooded overnight on the anniversary of the disaster at that. I mean, you don't make this stuff up, but it's the Volo Museum's Titanic exhibit that we're talking about here. The museum called it an eerie coincidence noting it's the second flood in 3 years there. The cause of the flooding and the extent of the damage have not been released. But again, that was just posted on our website, so if you want to check that out, all three of those stories are on our website right now, fox32chicago.com. It is 2:30. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to take a 2-minute break here, and then we're going to get into our next discussion about some of the great things that are being built, manufactured, produced right here in the state of Illinois. There's always a big competition each year to highlight the wonderful things that are happening and being made in our state. And today they announced a winner. So give us 2 minutes and we'll be back with that conversation and more. Welcome back. 2:33 right now, and let's find out about the winner of the Makers Madness contests for 2026. We have Mark Densler, the president and CEO of the Illinois Manufacturers Association, who is on the line joining us yet again, but this time with a winner. Great to have you back.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, did you do the drum roll and everything earlier today?
We did at noon today at the governor's mansion. Governor Pritzker opened that envelope and announced that Chemring's Standard Initiator on the NASA mission won the coolest thing made in Illinois this year after 167,000 votes. This product, there were 80 of them that were on the Artemis II Orion spacecraft that just circled the moon, and they were made in Downers Grove, Illinois.
I mean, how could you compete with that? I mean, the timing of all of that, how could you compete with that? We just obsessed over the NASA Artemis II mission over the last 2 weeks, and now to find out, yes, there was something made right here in the state of Illinois that was on it. Okay, tell me about this Standard Initiator. What exactly, for those of us who know nothing about this stuff, what exactly does the Standard Initiator do?
Well, it's interesting. The product is only about an inch long, but it helps fire. So when you see the Orion spacecraft take off and you see them shooting kind of the fire to control it, these initiators are what launches that, what starts it. It's on the International Space Station. It's on Mars rovers, so it's on a variety of products. But the neat thing is we have nearly 150 suppliers in Illinois to NASA's Deep Space Exploration Program, which is really, really neat when you think of these products from 150 companies circling the moon, taking man further into space than ever before. But it was a great competition, as you know, and we talked about 150 different products. And, one of the other finalists today was John Deere and their iconic green combine that's made in East Moline. And so you think the size of a combine or the small initiator just really shows the breadth and depth of products that are made in Illinois. And of course, you probably saw the famous scene of the jar of Nutella made by Ferrero, another Illinois company floating through the astronaut pad. So very cool stuff made in Illinois, and the governor crowned the winner today.
Yeah, that jar of Nutella floating, everyone has said that's the best commercial that Nutella ever went without paying for.
Oh, absolutely. You can't get press like that. And as I talked about today, we had products circling the moon, but we have suppliers that are also making products on Navy submarines that go, below thousands of feet below the surface. And so Illinois products are out of this world.
Literally. Just talk about, the purpose of this competition each year.
Well, manufacturers, are kind of the unsung heroes a lot of times. We employ 650,000 workers, the single largest share of the state's economy. But people don't realize really what's made in Illinois, whether it's iconic combines or bulldozers from Caterpillar. But, Boeing makes an unmanned drone that can land on an aircraft carrier and refuel planes. But we just don't have an appreciation for things like this NASA initiator. Nobody knew it was made in Downers Grove, Illinois. So it really is to showcase the amazing products, the innovative products that are made right here in Illinois that are such an important part of our state's economy.
And what kind of business-changing, life-changing moment is it for these companies when they are named?
Well, it's great pride to say that they're making the coolest thing made in Illinois. And I would tell you all manufacturing workers have a great sense of pride of what they do. To see a product that they make, become a part of a car or a combine or a food product or a consumer product. But so for this company, they only have about 220, 230 employees. They're looking to grow. And so you think that these 200 plus employees are making something, but it really is the pride that it shows. And they got a trophy. They're going to be featured in the magazine. All of our 16 finalists get a big flag that they can hang in their factories. And it really it's a sense of appreciation because the workers are really the heart and soul of manufacturers.
What were some of the other things in that top 16?
Yeah, so you had Ferrero was there with Kinder Bueno bars. You had Ferraro with the Nerds Gummy Clusters, which have been a big hit over the last couple of years. Two of the other finalists, in addition to John Deere and Chemring Energetic Devices, a duck skimmer by Elastic in Carmi, Illinois. And so these products help collect oil or weeds off the top of a pond or waterway. This product was used exclusively or extensively when you had the oil spill in the Gulf, for example. Aerapy, a small woman-owned business in St. Charles, makes UV to help clean air treatment systems to make sure that we're breathing better. And so those were some of the unique products. Imprentice and Champagne make a laser engraved product that's in high tech, and they make very few a year, but they're such a high caliber. So again, you see food products and consumer products and aerospace, automotive, combine. So again, it was a great example of what we see across the state of Illinois when it comes to manufacturing.
And the Standard Initiator, what club is it joining? What are some of the other things that have taken the top spot in years past?
Yeah, so neat. So the first year, Caterpillar's large mining truck that stands 27 feet tall with 13 feet tires. Rivian's R1T electric truck won. Another great one in aerospace, Ingersoll Machine Tools a couple years ago. It's called the Rosenberg Moon Habitat, where astronauts will live when we go to the moon. That's made in Rockford, Illinois as well. And last year, a small company in Plano called MTH Pumps, 75 employees, they make kind of a firefighting bucket. So when we're fighting forest fires, this can fill a bucket literally in about 30 seconds. So it makes it far faster and quicker when fire departments are trying to put out forest fires.
I remember us speaking about that before, because weren't they helpful for California?
They were. Their technology was used extensively in California in the wildfires, in Hawaii. Again, how quickly you can refill a bucket and drop more buckets of water per hour and per day help contain those fires and quite frankly, save lives and save property.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think like manufacturers in Illinois maybe don't get the credit that like some other states do?
I don't think people have an appreciation. A lot of times the manufacturer, we don't do a good job of telling our story, and we might be in a gray, nondescript building. People just don't know what's made here. And we have to do a better job of telling our story, so we can attract more people to manufacturing. Studies show we're going to need about 2.2 million people nationally in the next 10 to 15 years, half of that because of growth. And so we have to tell our stories that, the White House China is made in Illinois. A lot of life-saving drug manufacturers are located in Illinois, and food and beverage is the single largest share. And when you think about, Baby Ruth's and Nestle bars and Kinder Buenos and World's Finest Chocolate, all made here, we just don't do a good enough job of really telling our story, which is why we have this contest, just to really showcase these amazing companies.
And having Governor Pritzker do the announcement, does he announce that there's some other things on the way?
He does. So, we've had 5 or 6 big wins for Illinois, about $2 billion in investment and a couple thousand jobs. And he loves this. He talked about it today, as an owner of manufacturing companies. He's like me, kind of geeks out on this. He loves going on tours. He asks great questions. And so, as he said today, this is one of his favorite days. He loves coming to work to talk about innovation and showcase great companies. And he gets the little envelope and he pulls it out like you're at the Academy Awards. It gets to share in that excitement. And of course, all 16 finalists are invited to this. And so it's a special opportunity for Illinoisans to come to the mansion, to interact with the governor and their elected officials, and tell the stories about what the men and women in their factories make every day.
Well, congratulations to the team behind the Standard Initiator. It is really cool to find out, the things that we're watching on a regular basis, to find out what connects back to our communities. I think just makes us extra proud of watching it all. So thank you so much for the competition. Thank you for being back on the show to tell us about the winner. And thank you for what you do on a regular basis to help all of these companies shine.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right. You take care. 2:43. And it's awesome. Like, I don't know if you all are like me, but when you're listening to him and he mentions something that you've seen or you've heard about, but you knew nothing about its connection to Illinois, I don't know, again, what could have competed with the Standard. And they're all great things that he mentioned. But the Standard Initiator, being able to say little pieces of Illinois were going past the moon on this historic mission, the timing was just right for that. So, yeah, congratulations to that team. And awesome to hear about a piece of Illinois being a part of the Artemis II mission. Let's take a quick 2-minute break. We'll be back with our next conversation. Welcome back, everyone. It's 2:46 right now, and state lawmakers could pass a bill this spring that would really smooth out what can be a rocky road for many people who have served their time behind bars and are looking for a second chance at life and trying to turn their lives around. So I have Amadou Dramé, who is the director of the Illinois Justice Project, joining me now to talk a little bit about the efforts here behind this mission. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
I mentioned the barriers that could be in the way for people who are returning to society after being in prison. Can you expound on that more about that journey?
Sure. There are some 4.1 million people in the state of Illinois who have an arrest or conviction record, and there are 15,000 people who are released from prisons every year, state prisons in particular. Before a person enters prison, let me put it this way, 70 to 80% of the people who are in our state prisons today experienced housing instability or homelessness at some point in the 3 years before they were incarcerated serving their current sentence. That's according to a Loyola University study that was conducted and released late last year. According to a 2023 study by the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority, which is a state agency that does research on a range of topics related to the criminal legal system and people who've been impacted by it. People who leave our state prison system experience a 45% unemployment rate during the 3 years after they're released from prison. At the height, to put that into context, at the height of the Great Depression, the peak unemployment rate for the entire nation was just 27%. So for people who are literally leaving our state prison systems, it is almost twice as bad as the Great Depression for them on a regular day.
Wow.
Those are some of the things that they experience, to put it into context around some things that people probably can relate to.
So this Home for Good plan calls for rental subsidies and wraparound services for returning residents. I know that a part of this has to do with changing recidivism rates.
For sure. People in our state, we have a 40% recidivism rate, which means that within 3 years of being released, 4 out of 10 people who are released from prison find themselves back incarcerated, which is an unfortunate circumstance. The good thing about Home for Good is that, as you said, it is a program and a strategy that intends to basically create a reentry system, which we don't have today, unfortunately. But it aims to provide support services to people who are coming out, to assess them and see if they are at risk of experiencing homelessness, and to try to pair them up with supports that will allow them to be housed stably. And if we can do that, according to other studies that we have seen and other programs that we've seen, we can reduce recidivism significantly. I've seen in some instances it brought down to single digits.
Wow.
In other states and places. So this is really important to not only strengthen our economy by getting people back into the workforce, making better use of our public resources by spending less on prisons altogether, and keeping people out. But it also is about making our community safer,
What pushback, if any, are you getting in these efforts?
That we experience and receive are mainly around costs. Last year, we requested $100 million. One of the things that we heard from legislators was that, there were a lot of pressures that the state was experiencing due to things taking place at the federal level, challenges with our economy that we're experiencing now. And so what we did was we took a look at existing resources in the state. And fortunately for us, there are already programs that operate on a smaller scale, but nonetheless do the type of thing that we're trying to do, albeit in silos. And so what we were able to do was to work in the off season, talk to state agency leaders, and see if there were ways that we could find opportunities to collaborate across state agencies, which doesn't happen as often as it could. And fortunately for us, there's a way to do that. And as a result of those efforts, we were able to come back and say, look, we have identified about $50 million in existing state funding. And the bill that we're here to talk about today doesn't have a price tag associated with it. But in order to make it go, at a point, we would need an additional investment from the General Assembly and signed off by the governor of about $50 million to get it going.
Mm-hmm. You're also looking at forming an institute for training and technical assistance. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so we have in our state an organization or an agency called the Illinois Housing Development Authority. And what the Illinois Housing Development Authority does is it invests in the creation of affordable housing. It's been doing so for years. It currently does so by investing in the development and rehab of affordable housing, but it also, in certain instances, provides rental assistance as well. The Home for Good Institute is really intended to address a few issues. One, people who have records experience housing discrimination, and they have to deal with the shortage of affordable housing being the second issue. And so what the Institute would do is train community-based organizations that already provide support services to people who are exiting incarceration, and it would train them in the business of how to finance, acquire, develop, and rehab affordable homes and how to operate them, and how to do so in a way that provides people the supports that they need to be able to transition from incarceration into community to be successful. Upon completion of a cohort-based program, they would be eligible in applications to receive additional points for resources that our state housing financing agency, IDA, as it's known for short, but again, the Illinois Housing Development Authority, they'd be eligible to receive additional points on applications for financing for the various activities that I just listed. So it's really intended to be a training opportunity for organizations that already support people with records, and an opportunity to make sure that they are well educated in the ways to operate said housing and to create it and finance it, in an effort to create housing operators who are less inclined to discriminate against people, because the units that they would be creating would be intended for the people who we're striving to reach in this program.
Amadou, great speaking with you today. Please keep us updated on where things go from here on this. What is the expected timeline when you should find out whether this is going through or whether you're going to have to try again?
Well, thank you so much for having me. We had a hearing earlier today. Fortunately for us, we passed out of the Illinois House of Representatives Housing Committee earlier. And so the bill is heading towards the floor of the Illinois House. We hope to be able to line up at least 60 votes so we can get out of the House and then move our way over to the Senate. But things are moving quickly. I'm a very impatient person, as are our chief sponsors, and so we're hoping to make sure that things happen very quickly. There's a team of folks over at the Capitol now who are educating legislators and trying to whip up votes. So in short order, but would love to be able to keep you in the loop about things and hope that we can have another conversation in short order.
Okay, hope so. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, it's about 2:55. Good to hear about what's happening in the state where that's concerned. And as he said, we will circle back as we get some new information on that. But, there's a new kind of outlook on building stadiums throughout the country. This goes well beyond the Bears conversation, okay? There's a new outlook on building stadiums. If you think about stadiums of old and how the seating just went up and up and up and up, and you're trying to pack in as many people into that stadium. Well, that may have been before we had so many different types of deals, so many different sources of revenue for teams and companies off of people being in the stadiums. And so how they're being built is shifting. Let's go ahead and bring in Brett McCormick from the Sports Business Journal to talk about that. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So the nosebleed seats is what we've known them as. They're going away.
Yeah, and we use nosebleeds affectionately. That's a term of endearment. They, in some cases, they are going away. They're definitely, the gist of my story was that they're definitely under the microscope. You have a lot of new NFL stadiums and baseball stadiums where the capacities are coming way down. We've definitely seen that in the NFL, where a lot of new stadiums are closer to 60,000 seats than 70. And a lot of times it's the upper deck seats that are making way. And that's really from the teams and the venue operator side is a simple equation. They're the most expensive seats to build because they need the most structure beneath them, and they're the hardest to monetize. So, in this day and age where you can watch from your house in on a 4K TV and your air conditioning with, all the beer and food that you brought over, on the Friday before, those seats have the hardest time competing with, watching at home. And so they are under the microscope. In some cases, you've got arenas like in Chicago, the United Center, where the upper deck is being like reimagined. So it's not necessarily seats aren't necessarily going away, or capacity is not necessarily going away, but is being replaced by, a social area or an area that's almost resembling more like a bar or a party deck, where people are able to move around more and don't just have to sit, in that last row way up in the rafters.
Yeah, I mean, this was incredible reporting on really what's changing societal habits.
Yeah, well, and it has a huge impact on affordability too, which, if you're thinking of the broader society, I mean, is a pretty big issue at the moment. And so I think people, the concern in the industry, it is, not just barreling ahead and getting rid of these seats, but the concern definitely from fans would be, you get rid of those seats. Those are the most affordable, most approachable seats. How many people do you know, or have you had your own experience where, your first live sports experience was somewhere higher up because the seats were cheaper? And so that's a big issue. But like you were alluding to, people move around venues more these days. They like to come in groups, and socialize. I think that might have been a trend that was developing, but I think the pandemic really sped that up to where people began to value experiences.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, if you want a thing, you can buy it and have it at your house tonight. And I think in that kind of economy, experiences which are harder to get, and can create more memories, have become more valuable. And so I think the upper decks are starting to reflect that more too.
Yeah, and I just really would never have thought about the fact that, that's so true, that these days, I mean, if you can't get like a good seat, you're thinking, do we really want to spend money at all to be all the way up there when we could watch it from home? It is a different way of thinking about where companies, teams, whomever could be losing money, and people just saying like, I got a real good view from my couch.
Yeah, and the cost of attending is more than the ticket. I mean, food and beverage is really expensive.
Yeah.
Parking can be really expensive. So, if that entry point ticket is taken out of it, or limited, that becomes a big issue. And one of the things that has made the upper decks less financially reliable for the teams is kind of the decline of the season ticket. I mean, fewer people buy season tickets. It's especially an issue in baseball or hockey and basketball, where you've got 40 to 80 home games. I mean, that's like a big commitment. And one of the biggest things that sports is competing with right now is everything else. I mean, there's only so much time in the day, and there's a lot of competing interest for people's time and money. So, that also is playing into it. If it's not a great experience, I mean, people can very easily do something else. So as less season tickets have been sold in upper decks and they rely more on single game sales, they become less financially reliable for the teams. And so again, they kind of get in the crosshairs of the financial aspect of it.
And you looked at some of the stadiums or stadium plans for our area. Kind of detail which ones you looked at for this.
Yeah, well, one was the Fire, where I was at a conference in late March with Dave Baldwin, who's the president of business operations for the Fire, and he mentioned that they did not do another level up on their stadium because of the cost. They have a really tight site at the 78, as you guys know, and they just couldn't justify the cost, especially their owner is paying for that stadium himself.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the Bears, I'm not sure which plans you want me to zero in on.
The ones that are going to come to fruition, do you know?
No, I don't. Do you? Can you tell me? Yeah, I think everybody would like to know. But then the Bulls, did something that they're seeing a lot in arenas. Arenas are not really losing capacity. They kind of are at the level they need to be at. And so they have been the ones that have been more prone to kind of reimagining them. I mean, I think one of the first times I thought about this idea was one of the great aspects of my job is I get to go to a lot of stadiums and arenas. And I was at the Philadelphia Flyers and 76ers arena, and they have redone the top floor of their, or, the top level of their arena. And they had a line of couches and TVs, and people were sitting on the couches, placing bets on the game on their phone. The game was behind them. Like they were at the actual live game, and they were watching a TV that was faced the opposite way. And that was striking to me. So that kind of made me think like, okay, A, the expectation and what the fan wants to do is for some people has really shifted. And then B, why would you ever buy that ticket and then go sit on the couch and not watch the game? But that's like another debate.
It's the experience. It's the I even think about Northwestern's new stadium too.
Yeah.
And just like you in this reporting just kind of make us think about all the different places. We're like, oh yeah, they didn't build all the way up like what I've seen in the past. I just wouldn't have thought about it before this.
Yeah, that's a great example too, because the previous stadium I think it was closer to 50,000 seats, and this one will be 35. And they essentially have created a football arena. I mean, the way they brought the stands in, and it's going to sit right over top of the action, and that's engineering and construction lingo that's explained in the story. But they've gone. I think in more cases you're seeing sort of a lean towards quality as opposed to quantity. And I think in the 20th century, a lot of people were trying to set capacity and attendance records, and get to 100,000 seats or whatever the benchmark was. But I think we've definitely moved out of that era, and Northwestern is a great example. I mean, it's probably, you would say, a right-sized stadium for that football program, based on the success that they've had and, the kind of attendance they will get. So I think we're seeing more of that. And when you're right-sizing a stadium, you're going to look at, not only the upper deck, but every aspect of it is much more under the microscope.
Yeah. And then maybe on a final note, talk a little more in detail about what you found in terms of streaming deals and TV deals. I mentioned that as I was coming to you, but that has changed the game too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the biggest source of it is the biggest source of revenue and income for these teams and leagues. And so, ticket sales up until, I don't know, in maybe the 1990s or early 2000s was the number one revenue driver. And again, that's what led to 80,000 seat stadiums, whereas now ticketing is still a big revenue driver. But there's so many more ways that teams make money, and media broadcast deals is number one. But even in Chicago, you've got a really good collection of like mixed use development projects around sports venues, like the 1901 project, and Wrigleyville is a great example. And those are bringing in different monies, different sources of revenue to teams. I even in 2021 wrote about the Milwaukee Bucks had started a chicken fingers restaurant, and I actually looked it up the other day, and it's closed, so it did not succeed. But they did have they started a chicken fingers restaurant. So teams business, the pro sports teams business has just expanded like hugely, to the point that they're just not reliant on tickets in the way that they used to be. And again, so that makes that last two rows of the venue could, maybe are replaceable because you've got other forms of revenue coming in.
Well, we'll see what the Chicago Bears will do and how it fits into the conversation we just had. But great speaking to you, Brett. Wonderful reporting again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Take care. 3:06, everyone. We're in our final hour here on Chicago Live. Still plenty of great conversations to come. So give us 2 minutes. We'll be right back to proceed. right, welcome back, everyone. It's 3:08 right now. We have a jam-packed next 50 minutes ahead before we get you to the 4 o'clock news. We're going to bring in the Chicago Inspector General. She is in her final month in office, but she is going out with a bang, and she has a new report. We're going to go into detail with some of the very disturbing findings in it. We also have Alderman Raymond Lopez, who is going to come over. He's going to be here in studio in about 20 minutes to talk about new verbiage in terms of squatters in the city. It's been such a huge issue. Tons of reporting on it. It's happened to so many people out there, homeowners out there, even renters, who have left their place and come back maybe from a vacation or something, and you're like, who is this in my place? So there's some new verbiage where that's concerned that should help CPD in removing people from those homes who shouldn't be there in the first place. We'll bring in our own Terrence Lee so that he can tell us about what they're preparing for the 4 o'clock news. So plenty of good conversations to come. But first and foremost, we've got to talk about Lululemon and a new probe into the products that they put out for people on a regular basis. The Texas Attorney General saying that there is a concern about a potential presence of chemicals in the company's apparel. I have Will Deitel, who is a professor with the Department of Chemistry for Northwestern University, joining me now. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Anita. It's great to be here with you.
Absolutely. And did I get your last name correct?
I pronounce it Dictel.
Dictel. Okay, all right. Want to make sure that we get that right. Will Dictel. Tell me what you've learned in terms of this probe into Lululemon.
Well, it's interesting timing for this probe. Essentially, Texas is accusing Lululemon of having PFAS, or forever chemicals, in its products. And historically, Lululemon has I believe admitted that was the case until roughly 2023. And so these chemicals were widely used and are still widely used in the textile industry to give fabrics a lot of characteristics that we all find really desirable. They're used for waterproofing, they're used for stain resistance, and unfortunately over the years we've used tons and tons of these chemicals in many consumer products, and we have come to learn that they do not break down in the environment, and they're associated with many negative health effects, including cancer, reduced immune response, and complications in childbirth. So Lululemon is one of many companies that has historically used these chemicals, and now I believe Texas is really taking issue with their marketing of their products as safe and sustainable.
Yeah, so if they're one of many companies, why go after Lululemon?
That's a great question, Anita, and I think that may have something to do with the fact that they're the big kid on the block. They're a multi-billion-dollar industry. They're a well-recognized luxury brand. They certainly have they market their products as particularly healthful and sustainable. And so, I think on one hand, they're certainly not alone in the textile industry, but I think on the other hand, they also should have known better and should have phased these chemicals out way earlier than 2023.
Mm-hmm. How hard do you think it will be, though, to rid ourselves of PFAS? Because if we're talking about them for Lululemon, I know we've also talked about them with firefighting chemicals.
That's right. Yes, these chemicals have been used for roughly 60, almost 70 years, all throughout our society. And so this is a much bigger challenge than just swapping out your yoga pants. This is going to be something that we deal with as a society for a number of years. The long-term solution really is to greatly limit our use of these chemicals. This isn't something that's where consumers, can make good choices versus bad choices. They're really used so frequently and across so many different products, it's really just part of modern life is that you are going to have some exposure to them right now. So in the long term, we need to define, a very small number of uses for these chemicals where we absolutely can't get away from them. And then for all other uses, we really need to phase them out.
And what can we as consumers look for or do differently?
Well, Lululemon phased these out of their products in 2023 in part because of increased consumer awareness. And so even though it's hard to take your exposure down to zero by making smart choices, you certainly can look for companies that are very clearly communicating that they are stepping away from using these chemicals.
And how hard do you think the government will go after companies? I mean, because there are so many, to actually effectuate change in the future. How is this an FDA thing? Is this an EPA thing? Like how do they crack down on this?
It's all of these things, and I think that. On one hand, I think Texas's actions this week are a little bit opportunistic, but on the other hand, they're somewhat justified. And I think to the extent that we're all talking about this issue is a baby step towards a PFAS-free future. So it's not. This is not simply Texas acting in a completely inappropriate way, although I do think that they may be also kind of chasing some headlines here in their actions as well. So I think that going forward, the average consumer doesn't want to sit here and think about PFAS in every buying decision that they make. And so this is going to be driven in part just by it being unacceptable to use these products where the average person is going to be exposed to them. And another aspect that has been driving companies changing over the last 10 to 15 years has been the threat of class action lawsuits. The widespread use of these chemicals is causing people harm. And just like in the past when we've had big tobacco lawsuits and other really multi-billion-dollar actions, the PFAS industry is staring at those in the face right now.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. We certainly appreciate it. Again, it sounds like one step of many, many steps that need to be made to make us a PFAS-free society, but at least it could be one step. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Take care.
All right, you take care. 3:16, everyone give us 2 minutes. We'll be right back. We've got a conversation about Chicago River storm trap, and then also it's a new project in the city. And then also we should be getting a preview of the 4 o'clock news with T. Lee. Welcome back, everyone. It's 3:19 right now. Our own T. Lee is getting ready to be on TV. And let's go ahead and get a preview from him of the 4 o'clock news. Hey, friend.
Okay, AB, you got bars. I see you, TV, getting ready for TV. Got a lot to get to today coming up at 4 o'clock. The first one here, there was a lockdown situation at Portage High School. This one had a lot of people on edge. So just imagine someone calls 911 saying they're outside the high school with guns and they're about to go in. So the school went into lockdown. Like I said, police checked it out. Right now, they said there's no evidence that this was real, but they are trying to find that person who made that call. So coming up at 4, we'll talk about how they trace a call like that and what happens to the person if they find them. Next story we're following, it's a very heavy story. The widow and son of a former and late Cook County Commissioner Dennis Deere. They were shot and killed inside their home on the west side. Her name was Barbara. Their son's name was Caleb. They were found with gunshot wounds. A weapon was recovered. Detectives are still piecing this one together. So at 4 o'clock, we'll go over exactly what we know about the case. Story number 3 for you. And this one is strange. Just cue up Celine Dion. My heart will go on.
Oh, boy.
Sorry, I couldn't help it. The Titanic exhibit at the Volvo Museum, it flooded again. This happened last year, I believe, but it's the same spot. And it gets stranger because it happened on the anniversary of the ship sinking. So, the internets are going crazy about this one. We'll talk about what they are saying caused it. Of course, it was all the rain we had last night, but the people's on the internet think it's something else. We'll talk about that. And then lastly, too, we're going to get everyone prepared for what's coming with this storm. So we have, Mike Kaplan here, Emily Walls as well. They're tag teaming this, just making sure that everyone is safe. But specifically, we're going to be helping you with stuff that matters, helping you get your storm plan together, because you never want to wait until those alerts start coming on your phone. You want to be ready now. So we'll talk about go bags and having people who can check on you if they know something's about to happen in your city, your suburb. We got some good stuff coming up for you at 4 o'clock today.
Well, thank you so much for letting us
You're
know.
welcome.
We will be tuning in.
And my heart will go on, boo. Near, far.
Okay,
you
Rose. Bye. 321. He is such a comical one. We love him. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the next conversation that's coming up here. And we were just speaking about, storms that were in the area over the last 24 hours, the flooding that was happening there at the Titanic exhibit of all places. But so installed in the main stem of the Chicago River, storm traps are floating with trash trap, and it's helping to capture floating litter in the water surface. And so we want to get more information about this trash trap project on the Chicago River with Greg Williams, Dr. Greg Williams, the Director of Water Quality Technology at Storm Trap. Thank you for being here.
Hi, my pleasure.
Explain this a little bit better than the line that I just gave here. Paint the picture for us of exactly what happens.
Well, you actually covered it pretty well, but there's a little bit more to the story. So I was at a meeting about a year ago, and I met up with Professor Tim Holine at Loyola Chicago University, and he was working with Wendella Boats on a project where they were capturing trash in the Chicago River, and then they were weighing it and measuring it and recording it. And he mentioned that he was monitoring a trash trap, and I asked if he wanted to actually monitor a trash trap, a real one. And he said yes. They weren't really happy with the system that they had, and so we started having some conversations about how this might work. The ownership at Storm Trap was willing to donate a system, so we had a system built, shipped it off to the Wendella Boatyard. We didn't quite get it in time to put it in last year, so it sat over the winter. But then, with spring coming and litter season coming, unfortunately, we were able to get it into the water just a couple days ago.
Wow. And how effective are these things? Like how much are you all capturing?
Well, it's It depends a little bit on the current. It's a pretty big trap. So it's down by the Wendella boat dock at the foot of Michigan Avenue near the Wrigley Building. So if you're going on a boat tour or something, you'll be able to see it there. We've got a sign. There's a QR code on it, so you can go to a website that'll explain a little bit more about it if you want to learn more. But basically, it's about a 4-foot opening, like 2-foot square, and then a 4-foot deep net. So it can capture hundreds of pounds of trash depending on the type of situation. It's not that bad in the Chicago River, so I don't think we'll be getting hundreds of pounds every week, but we'll get enough. And as I said, the folks at Loyola are going to measure that. They'll be sharing that information with the International Trash Trap Network. And it'll just help us learn more about what's going into the river and maybe give us some ideas on how we can reduce that.
Yeah, how critical is an effort like this for waterways?
Oh, it's very important. You'd be surprised actually how much is going on across North America and across the world. It's kind of shocking that people still litter so much. One of the things that I find surprising is one of the number one things that gets captured and recorded in like marine litter in lakes and on beaches and stuff is cigarette butts. You would think we'd be past that, but it's still something that happens a lot. So it happens all over. There are a lot of different organizations around the Great Lakes that are working on capturing trash. People have beach cleanup days, and it's really important because the stuff doesn't break down and it won't really go anywhere. So it just becomes very ugly unless somebody picks it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And obviously, you're working in an urban environment. What is the difference between having something like this in a Chicago River versus, suburban or rural body of water?
Well, the device will work the same. It's really a matter of how much trash there is available to capture. Mm-hmm. And so typically in urban environments, we tend to see more. The amount of litter that you have usually correlates to the population. And so more people, more trash. So you can see them in suburban or rural areas. Again, if it's, it'll be somewhere if you identified a problem. If someone said, hey, we have a lot of trash here, we really should do something about it, that's when you would install a trash trap.
And so where all is the trash trap being installed?
So this particular one, like I said, so we have a couple different kinds. Usually we'll put them sort of at the end of a pipe and to prevent trash from even getting into the water, because once the trash is, floating in the harbor, it's not very efficient to chase it down and get every piece. If you can get it into a net before it gets there, it's just more efficient. You capture it faster. However, in this case, that wasn't really possible. So what we wanted to do is we put a floating system in, and like I said, it's at the Wendella Boat Tours dock by the Wrigley Building at the base of Michigan Avenue.
And what does it say to you that we're at even a point where you have something like this? And I mean, what are the kind of thoughts about moving it forward? What to do next? What would be even more effective?
I think it's just a matter of the trash trap itself works very well. It's an effective system. It's really a matter of putting them in the right places. That would help certainly reduce trash. Again, if we could go a little further upstream and try to capture it before it got into the river. So, putting trash traps at outfalls, into storm sewers, other places where trash is known to collect. And yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. Because again, once it kind of gets into the river or gets onto a beach, a beach cleanup is a good way to bring the community together, but it's also really a labor-intensive way to pick up all the trash when you could have caught it in the pipe before it got onto the beach.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and sharing this information. Raising awareness really is what it comes down to. So thank you so much for your time here on the show.
All right. Thank you, Anita.
All right. Take care. 3:28, everyone. And our next guest is already here in studio. 15th Ward Alderman Ray Lopez will be with us right after this quick break. Give us 2 minutes. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. 3:31 right now. Alderman Raymond Lopez here with us to talk about just a few things that are going on in City Hall. You just came back from City Hall, and the big news today that came out from the last session, I think that everyone's talking about, has to do with the tipped wage. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, thank you for having me back, Anita. I and 30 of my colleagues tried to override the mayor's decision. Many of us are worried about the restaurants that we know that exist in our neighborhoods where they are pulling back hours from the workers just to make ends meet. And I think what we're seeing is the intent was there, but the execution is questionable. We all admitted that in City Council today, but nobody wanted to take the step to say, let's pause this. Let's do right by our businesses. And all of us want to see workers' wages rise. We want to see our businesses flourish, but we have to be thoughtful and careful in how we do that. And I think there was a serious missed opportunity today at City Council to actually help businesses thrive in our local neighborhoods. Not everyone is a McDonald's or a Burger King or some of these big chains. We have a lot of great local restaurants, a lot of mom and pop restaurants that are struggling. And today, unfortunately, we didn't help them out at all. Yeah, the Illinois Restaurant Association, Sam Toya, he's come on the show before and talked very adamantly about why this needed to be eliminated. But of course, the mayor has said that if you look at the wages that people make, that tipped workers make, that something needed to be done to address the inequity there. Well, what we have to remember is that, and I used to work for tips when I worked for the airline, so this is very personal and real for me, that right now everyone in the city of Chicago makes a guaranteed basic minimum wage of $16 an hour, tip, no tip. Where we have issues is, how do you help restaurants navigate getting to that $16? And if you have a tip credit that allows them some flexibility to not have to pay that directly, but allow them to understand that people are giving them tips, then that should be something that we look at. But what we don't want is whether you're tipped or getting minimum wage, if you get less hours, you get less opportunity to make money. And that's where we've seen the real drawback in all of this equation, is that you have restaurants cutting hours of workers because they can no longer afford the minimum wage without the tip credit.
Yeah, for sure. There were some workers even who said, no, keep it the way it is. I think it was a hard situation maybe for all around. And where do we go from here?
Well, I think what we need to do is we need to get in a room together and figure out how do we put our best foot forward to make sure that we are not negatively impacting the wages of our workforces, while also ensuring that they have hours to work, that businesses are able to employ them. And unless we're willing to have those real conversations where we talk to each other, not just shout at each other, which is what Alderman Taylor said, then we're never going to get to a point of resolution. But I think that there's enough willingness right now to move forward with or without the mayor's blessing to try to find a middle ground, because none of us want to see empty storefronts where our favorite restaurants used to be or where our favorite servers are no longer working.
Sure, and obviously, I mean, we've talked a lot about the shifting tax burden that a lot of these empty spaces create as well. So it is very cyclical.
Yes.
All right, now to what we brought you here for. And that is the terminology being changed for squatters. Huge issue really around the country, but we've reported on multiple instances of people maybe going on vacation or they have a home up for sale, and then all of a sudden the realtor goes over to show the home and there's random people inside. Yeah. Okay, so talk a little bit about the issue itself, what you've seen, and the change that's getting ready to happen.
So what we've seen here in Chicago, Cook County, and throughout the state of Illinois really is because there's been such vagueness in the law with how you deal with squatters, people who don't necessarily have a lease or a connection to a property, but as you just said, show up and basically try to take common law ownership or establish residency by their mere presence. We have never been able to safeguard people's property from this intentional theft through the manipulation of housing laws. And just recently, the state of Illinois passed a measure stating that squatters do not have tenants' rights and that law enforcement can, in fact, remove someone who doesn't belong in that property. Now, the city council just passed Alderman Ronnie Mosley's ordinance, which states that you cannot use fake documents to try to gain ownership or residency in a location, that you can't be a squatter and make your own lease and then present it to a police officer saying, no, I have real paper. Because we've seen where owners have shown up and said, I don't know who this person is. He doesn't have a lease or she doesn't belong here. Let's get them out. And police have not been able to legally remove individuals. And what we don't want is more negative interactions with law enforcement. So we hope that some of this clarity in the law will allow us to reclaim spaces that belong to people, but there's clearly more work to be done. We know that, as I mentioned during committee, this deals with trespassing, but we also need to strengthen our landlord-tenant ordinance so that we can better define safeguards both for landlords and tenants, because we don't need this fight to get ugly. If we know that someone doesn't belong there, then that should be dealt with specifically. But if you're a tenant and you stay longer, there's other issues. There are other remedies that we need to strengthen, but this will continue to be an evolving crisis for us until we get the law right. And at a time when we're talking about where's all of the naturally occurring rental property throughout the city of Chicago, we can't have people just laying claim out there and saying this is now mine.
Yeah, and you made such a good point about the documents. I mean, we have seen that over and over where people say, no, I have a lease. Where did you get the lease from? Who created this?
And we have had situations, as my colleagues shared, where the actual property owner was there with the police trying to argue that that document is fake, and the police still did not have the authority, which is insane to me, to say with the owner's word that that wasn't enough to remove that person. So none of our small 2-flat, 3-flat property owners should be put in a position where they're fighting a squatter. We need to protect them, because most of the time they're our grandparents, our neighbors, they're in our neighborhoods, and that's where the bulk of the existing rental is. And if people don't want to rent because they're afraid of that situation, or they're dealing with these kind of situations, we're never going to get ahead of the housing crisis in the city of Chicago.
Yeah, on a final note here, we have had multitude of conversations about teen takeovers, and I want to get your take on it before you leave out of here. Yesterday we saw a parent takeover, and it was a much different effort from people who say, as you mentioned, we don't want to have negative interactions with police. We want to be a part of the solution. Speak to that.
I think we oftentimes see many of the takeovers right here on Michigan Avenue in our neighborhoods, and even in my own ward. We had one recently. We can either do this with the carrot or the stick. And I think the carrot is the parents. And I've routinely said parents are the key to all of this. And what happened in Hyde Park last night, I believe it was Early Walker sponsored that. A great event to get parents out. Go claim that space for yourself before the kids get here, before your children show up. Because what we need to do is remind our youth that the parents are watching. They're not going to want to go where their parents are. We know that anyway in the holidays.
Yeah.
But if you show up to where they want to do a takeover and there's 200 parents out there waiting for you, you're going to dissipate. And we saw that last night. It was not nearly what we expected. But parents need to be engaged. And yes, this was fun. But you know what? It's going to take a summertime commitment to make sure that our parents know where our kids are and that they're willing to stand up, because otherwise it will be the police deciding who gets arrested, who's getting chased, or it may be your son or daughter who's victimized by one of these street takeovers or one of these events, and no parent should have to deal with the loss of their child this year.
Yeah,
that should be something we all commit to, hands down.
Absolutely, absolutely. You are on the you have met with the Public Safety Committee before, and tell me where conversations stand about, from a city perspective, trying to do more to deter or to make sure that we don't have these teen takeovers.
I think we're going at this from three different perspectives right now. You have Alderman William Hall, who's trying to engage with social media like Meta and Instagram and Snapchat and all them, to hold them accountable for when they are allowing these posts encouraging youth to descend on an area. You have Alderman Hopkins, who wants to amend the SNAP curfew to say that if we have an event taking place, that we should be able to organize our police and take the necessary steps from there. And then you have my effort, which is basically to say, if you allow your kids to do this, I'm coming for you as a parent, because you should know where your kids are. I think there's merit in all three of them. I don't think any one of them is going to be the panacea to put an end to this. But I think that we have to have a robust and total conversation saying, you know, yes, we need to hold platforms accountable, but we need to hold the people who create the content accountable. Most of the time, they're not even from Chicago. They're from the suburbs or far suburbs. We need to be able to work with our police department to say, how do we lawfully hold youth in a way that brings their parents to come get them without necessarily having to throw them in jail or hold them overnight, because none of us want to babysit 400 teenagers at any police district. And how do you also, to what I've proposed, how do you get parents to wake up? Do you hit them in the pocketbook? Do you start forcing some parental counseling? What do you have to do to get parents to pay attention? Because we've seen what happens when the kids sneak out at night. We know how that ends, and it doesn't always end well. So let's have those conversations. Let's work on it together, and let's not be afraid to say the hard part out loud, which is our families are suffering right now and need some help and guidance. How to be better parents, how to instill better values so that I don't have to worry about 400 kids. The city should be open to everyone. Absolutely. If 400 kids want to come down right now, have at it, but enjoy it and be respectful. And that's where I think our conversation really needs to pivot to, because the city belongs to everyone, but they also have to remember you own it too.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you say the hard parts out loud. Some people would say the hard part is we keep having conversations. What is being done?
Well, well, at some point, you're exactly right. Yeah. We have to make a decision one way or the other.
Yeah.
And I think that right now you have a lot of political leaders who don't necessarily want to put their foot down and out of fear of aggravating parents or making voters upset. But will voters be more upset when it's their child that is lost? Are they going to be more upset when families continue to see this tragedy or this chaos in their neighborhoods from one end of the town to the other? And to be fair, the mayor really needs to step up too. We've seen him in the last 2 weeks make 2 announcements about teen takeovers or team, whatever you call it.
It's been a new approach. Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'm glad for it. Mm-hmm. To be honest, I'm very glad, and this is like the 5th time I've commended him, so thank you for getting me to add it today. But I'm glad that he's actually proactively saying we have something going on, parents pay attention, because he is still the mayor of the city of Chicago. And what made Mayor Daley famous was that when things went bad, he was quick to point out who exactly was at fault and why they weren't paying attention. And you know what? Mayor Brennan Johnson can start doing that too. He has the authority as mayor to tell parents, I know your kids are coming down here or thinking about coming down here to cause chaos. Don't let them come.
Yeah, it certainly affects us all. So thank you. Continue to keep us updated. You can pop over here in the studio anytime you want.
Keep the air
We're not
conditioning
far. It's a very muggy day for sure. We appreciate you coming over here, though. We really do. It's 3:44, everyone. Give us 2 minutes. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. 3:46 right now, and Chicago's Inspector General doesn't have much more time in office, but you could say she is going out with a bang with her new report, and she's here with us now. Deborah Witzberg, we always appreciate having you here.
Thanks for having me.
And let's talk about what you found in your latest reporting here. Your first quarter report, a mishandled death investigation?
That's right. So this is the report we released this morning is our report for the first quarter of 2026. It summarizes our activities in this first part of the year. One of the investigations we report is about a death investigation into an incident following a person being struck by a vehicle being driven by a Chicago Fire Department member. We looked at the way the police department handled that death investigation, and we found that it fell short. We found that CPD didn't do all of the things that should have been done. And as a result, neither we nor anyone else is well positioned to know exactly what happened in that underlying incident.
So when you bring this up, we always have this conversation, like we see the report and you're like, oh my goodness, but what happens from it? What happens?
It really depends on the case. It's, the only job we can do is our job. And so we reach investigative findings. If we find misconduct, administrative misconduct, that is, we make recommendations to city departments about discipline, or we might make a recommendation to the Board of Ethics that they pursue an enforcement action. And then when we report out on these cases, we publish whatever response we might get to a recommendation. So in the case of this mishandled death investigation, where we found that Chicago Police Department members turned off their body-worn cameras too early, failed to write reports, failed to interview witnesses, etc., we recommended discipline for a number of those people. In some cases, the Chicago Police Department disagreed entirely. In other cases, they agreed with our findings and noted violations on the disciplinary records of those members.
Okay, let's move on to widespread drinking on the clock at the airport, of all places.
Exactly. This was a sprawling investigation. We had 14 individual subjects, most of them employees of the Chicago Department of Aviation, also some at the Department of Transportation and the Department of Water Management. And this is exactly what you described, groups of people drinking at bars when they were supposed to be working at O'Hare International Airport. We also found that there were situations where supervisors were drinking alongside or even buying drinks for their subordinates, many people who knew about this ongoing misconduct and failed to report it appropriately, and a number of them who lied to us in the course of our investigation.
Okay, are they drinking at bars in the airport, leaving, going to bars and coming back drunk? What's going on?
Bars around. Some of the things we found included that people would go to these bars, drink on the clock, come back, sit in their car in the parking lot at the airport until it was time to clock out.
Yikes. And what kind of positions are these people in? I mean, is it TSA? Please tell us it's no one in the tower. I mean, what kind of positions do these people have?
This is a range of titles, again, at the Department of Aviation, Water Management, and the Department of Transportation. So, TSA is not a city department. None of these are TSA folks. These people have a range of different positions. I think, it would be fair to say that everybody who works at the airport has a really important role in making sure that the airport runs in a safe and a secure manner. We simply cannot tolerate this.
I still have a lot of questions about that, but yes, you are correct. Every person who works there is critical to the overall performance of the airport. Just some of them, we worry about our lives a little bit more than others. And so you have a PPP loan fraud. Some people will look at this and say, are we still hearing about PPP loan frauds in 2026 from the pandemic?
Yeah, I feel the same way. So our efforts to investigate PPP loan fraud have been long-running ones, and we are very much still at it. This is a huge scale effort in terms of an investigative endeavor. In this quarter, we have closed 10 PPP loan fraud investigations with sustained allegations. That is to say, 10 separate cases where we find that a city employee committed loan fraud. In this quarter, 9 of the 10 of those were current or former members of the Chicago Police Department, and 1 was a city council employee. These cases really matter. At a foundational level, you just don't get to both defraud the government and collect a government paycheck. Particularly when we're dealing with Chicago Police Department members, these are people who are, by nature of their jobs, writing police reports and landing on the witness stand every day. And so where we have concerns about their credibility, if they have lied to the government on a loan application, we simply cannot have them writing police reports and landing on the witness stand. Okay.
So when you find out about someone defrauding the government, it sounds like this is a crime. What happens now to these people?
So that's right. Loan fraud is a crime. That's right. And we have some PPP cases that we have been pursuing criminally, as well as our administrative cases. All the ones reported here are administrative cases. All 9 of the Chicago Police Department cases here, we recommended that the subjects be fired if they were still employed with the police department. In every recommendation for firing that we've made in a CPD PPP case, the police department has agreed, and I appreciate that. The 10th case here was a city council employee. We also recommended that person be fired. The response we got from the alderperson, frankly, isn't clear on what action, if any, will be taken.
Okay. All right. What was the most troubling issue in this report to you?
Well, I think the investigative work we report here as a whole reflects exactly the kinds of cases that we have worked to prioritize over the last 4 years. This range, this collection of misconduct. These are exactly the kinds of situations which feed this deficit of legitimacy at which the city of Chicago operates. I always worry about the cases we see where someone is using the authority of a city position for personal benefit. We see some of that this quarter.
Okay, I want to turn the conversation to you. How many days do you have left in this position?
Next Friday is the last day of my term.
Next Friday. And how are you feeling about that date approaching?
I appreciate that question. It has been an enormous privilege to do this job. I feel very lucky to have done it. I am ready to turn this place over to the next person lucky enough to do the job.
Mm-hmm. What are you feeling about the committee that's been formed to find your replacement?
I wish that process had moved faster. I announced last July that I would not seek reappointment to a second term. That was plenty of time to get a new inspector general in place. The ordinance lays out a process for interim IG. I have every confidence that the work of this office will continue uninterrupted during that interim period. That said, this office is built to have permanent term protected leadership for a reason. And all those of us with a stake in better, more accountable government should be watching that process closely to make sure that it moves as quickly as it can from here and that it reaches an appropriate outcome.
Why no second term?
It's a good question. My decision not to seek a second term was prompted, at least in an immediate way, by the passage last summer of this piece of legislation that was designed to strengthen the independence and effectiveness of OIG's investigative work. We had this, it is frankly an imperfect piece of legislation, but it's a step in the right direction. The overwhelming majority of city council voted last summer to strengthen the oversight to which they themselves are subject. I think that is, in a historic proportion, really good news. And that moment struck me as an opportunity to leave this place confident that I will do so with the office more effective and more independent than I found it. And that is when all of us should leave these jobs. These jobs are neither sprints nor marathons. They're relay races. It's our highest responsibility to run as hard as we can while it's our turn, make some progress, and pass the baton. And so I am glad to have an opportunity to do that.
What was the greatest challenge during your time?
It has been really challenging in our work where we have met with resistance to and hostility to oversight. There's room for disagreement on any one particular case, any one request, any one recommendation, any one point of law. But I also think that we are entitled to see a pattern of events for what it is. And if something, said before, if something walks and talks like hostility to oversight, sometimes it's just hostility to oversight.
What do you think needs to be done better from city government in the future?
We have enjoyed really productive, really collaborative working relationships with many people in city government, many people leading city departments, but that hasn't been true everywhere. And we would all be better off if the tone from the top in this administration was really clear that effective independent oversight is a necessary good and that it's part of what we owe to Chicagoans.
And what's next? Can you tell us yet?
I will just say I'm looking forward to everything that comes next. I've spent a career in public service in this city, and that's all I intend to do.
So when you say you've spent a career in service to the city, does the career in service to the city end with this position?
I won't stay in city government for right now, but I'm to borrow a phrase from Rahm Emanuel, I'm not done with public service, and I hope public service isn't done with me.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for all you have done. Thank you for coming on the show today to tell us a little bit more about what's disturbing, but what we all need to know about. So we appreciate the transparency here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Come back around when you can tell us more.
Thank you. Will do.
In fact, come here first. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody, for being here with us today. I think we've had a lot of really great conversations during our time on the show today. We certainly appreciate everybody who has joined us, both in person and also virtually. We didn't have the opportunity to really go in depth in terms of our weather, but it is a very important topic for today. So as we prepare to send you over to the 4 o'clock show, they're going to speak robustly about it, okay? We have team coverage on the storms that we're anticipating. We already saw, yesterday was kind of the precursor, and while it may not have been as destructive for our area, we did have flooding in some areas, but if you were here with us in our first hour, we started off this broadcast with our friends from our sister station in Milwaukee. They had a reported tornado in that area last night, with another round of serious to severe weather prepared for tonight. We want you to be prepared for it. Be weather aware. That means pay attention. Be weather ready.
That when they put it on, you really think it's like, come out like Sydney Sweeney. Please come out like Sydney Sweeney. Really? You think that's what it is? Huh? We should go. We'll see you tomorrow.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
Right now, working on getting updates from police on